Brought to you by the Rugby Outlet Mall, equipping you for freedom and connection through rugby. Find out more at rugbyoutletmall.com. What's up, everybody? Welcome to another great episode of Grow Rugby. My name is GiftTime Ibelu, and this is a podcast where we speak with people about the opportunity that they've found, taken advantage of, interacted with, or created via rugby. We have a great guest for you today. It's going to be Jorge Cota of the rugby page Rugby and Beauty. You can find it on Instagram and Facebook. It's a wonderful social media page with a very, very, very dedicated and well-sized following that just gives imagery to rugby players. Just puts them in front of the public and lets them know that they matter for exactly who they are as a rugby player. It's definitely one that I found very intriguing and was actually a little bit impressed with what it had to offer in terms of providing a much more psychological look at rugby and much more physiological look at rugby than it was just simply the gameplay. And it wasn't even a shallow look at it too. So Jorge was a great talk, great listen to. Mind you, some of it ended up being a little bit of a connection issue. So, if things cut in and out, it's not you. It's just sometimes it be like that. But this was a really great conversation. We got to talk about how he started. We're talking about what he saw in rugby and how he was able to come up with the idea for the page and really where he's trying to go with it. I think it's one that we take, especially considering that this is in a place where I am located now in Brazil. He's based out of Brazil, and he was able to still be able to bring rugby players from different parts of the world onto this page. So it's not just Brazilians, but it's everybody, which was how I think I ended up discovering it. So you guys are going to enjoy this. I promise you on that. And of course, please, we we have our sponsorship life. Check out Rugby Outlet Mall. We just stocked up the store with some new merch. Check it out. Ballers Play Rugby merch. Go and cop yourself one of those. And while you're at it, to do so, go ahead and use the promo code GROW Rugby. That is GREAUX Rugby. And you can get 20% off any HBCU Rugby Classic or GiftTime Rugby Network, aka the Rugby Outlet Mall exclusive gear. And definitely don't hesitate to check out our other stuff. We got shoes, movies, books, things that you need to be able to build the rugby culture. But the Grow Rugby 20% off promo codes for GiftTime Rugby and HBCU Rugby Classic gear and merchandise. So please go check it out. And of course, take a look at our documentary, Singapore to Tokyo, Any Way You Can. It is a 7-part, 20-minute per episode documentary documenting, using the same terms over and over, documenting our trip, my friend Jason Bray and myself, bike riding through Singapore, Malaysia, Thailand, Cambodia, Vietnam, all the way to Japan for the Rugby World Cup 2019. And as we get to learn more about the nonprofits and nonprofit rugby programs that exist in the region, I think it's something that you guys will absolutely enjoy. It's only $17, and it will give you the beautiful reminders of what pre-COVID life of the outside was like, and just being able to venture out and just enjoy rugby at its purest sense. So I hope you guys get a chance to check it out. And also, please don't forget to leave a comment or a review on Apple iTunes. So let us know what you guys are thinking about on the podcast. Gives us an idea of what to expect. Lets us know how you're feeling, whether it's a 1-star, 5-star. I just want to feel what you are feeling. So I appreciate it, and I appreciate everyone who has put something down and put a review on there. It's very much appreciated. On top of that, you guys can also check out the podcast on our YouTube page, GiftTime, youtube.com/GiftTime Rugby Network. And you guys can check out the videos of our podcast, including other videos that is on our platform. So check it out, subscribe on there, and we're going to be hooking this up soon. So without further ado, I'm not going to hold you guys off. Check out this beautiful episode, Jorge Cota of Rugby and Beauty. Check it out.
Grow rugby, grow rugby, grow rugby, grow rugby, grow rugby, grow rugby, grow rugby.
Welcome everybody to another great episode of Grow Rugby. My name is GiftTime, and I have another very important P person with us today, the co-founder of the amazing Instagram and social media site, Rugby and Beauty, and it is purely all of that. Jorge Cota, coming out of Brazil. Jorge, thank you so much for coming on.
I thank you for the invitation. I'm very glad to be here talking to you guys.
Man,
sorry
say that again?
Sorry for my English.
Look, there's nothing to be sorry for. We're rugby people. We barely can speak English, even when English is the first language.
Okay, so that's okay. Let's move on.
We are good. No worries. I always like talking about how I found the pages, and we were just talking about it before turning on the podcast. But I remembered either running into your page through the hashtag or through a friend who had put something on their stories from your page, which attracted me to your page in general. But I think the most impressive thing was once I looked through your page, exactly how in depth you went into it with other rugby people. Like, you were not just featuring rugby highlights or just featuring, something from a premiership game or something to that effect. You were giving individuals a platform in and of themselves and a chance to be able to spotlight them and make almost every rugby player feel like there is something important about them in their moment, which is so beautiful. And I have to commend you for it, because I think your Instagram page is one of the most interesting ones and easily viewable ones that I've been to.
Yeah, since this, I thought that there were very good pages, which was to do the A side of the thing, okay? Featuring the highlights, featuring the most famous athletes. What I wanted is to give that chance to everybody, every amateur athlete, to be featured and to other. The main concern, the main page has been always to make those people to interact. But I can't only feature amateur players all the time, because they also want to hear about their idols. So I try to make that kind of mixture. And maybe that's what makes the page so easy to visit, so easy to be connected with, because it gives a space, it gives a feeling of belonging to people who would never have it in other pages, other major pages. And I like to emphasize, even in the page description, that it's for kind of beauty. Beauty, no fixed meaning. Everyone has its own beauty. So the forwards, the backs, the women, men, the everybody. The values of rugby is also beauty. Uh, Anything can be called beauty. There's no stereotype of beauty on the page to be featured on the page. And in the beginning, I had a problem, which was people could not to the idea that featuring one sole person could represent rugby. And in a certain extent, I could not disagree, because rugby is by the whole group of people who are playing, even the people who are behind you. But you can call the attention from people who are not into rugby, or who have not been in contact with rugby, which is very common here in Brazil, by showing a picture of a sole line out, for instance, a beautiful line out, featuring 1-2 person people. So when I stopped worrying about what people would say, what people would think, and when I started doing what I thought was the wrong, or even try to find out what was the right thing, which is something that I still don't know if I have already found. I'm still trying to find it, because that's what life is about: finding, trying, experimenting, right? And you have to, if you want to be successful in something or in anything, I think you should stop worrying much about the negative criticism. You have to listen to them, but not be undermined by them. Now you have to do your thing and see if it happens or not. And I guess it's been the formula. I wouldn't say success, but I think that's why the page is growing, never going back, always going forward. And I'm proud of that.
Yo,
I think I'm doing the right thing.
I think, and I think that makes sense, and it does all come through that page. And I'm glad that you said it that way, because it's one thing that I think that while we always know that rugby is an inclusive sport by trade, sometimes it doesn't always come off that way. And whenever we recognize how much diversity comes with it and how much variation comes into this sport, and who gets involved, it's really important that we need to make sure we're recognizing that from each player and all these participants. I wanted to kind of move into what would be almost your origin story, because it sounds like your philosophy has been really, built out. But it's interesting because obviously you're from Brazil, which is not a major rugby country, but has felt like there's been a lot of growth that has come in Brazil, especially the last 4 years. For you, how did you get started with rugby?
Well, myself was not acquainted with rugby a decade ago. And you're right. In the last 4 years, there has been a great improvement, growth on the rugby community in Brazil. And I can't tell you about the whole history of rugby. I believe it arrived with soccer maybe in the late 19th century, but it didn't work for the Brazilians. And so until maybe 30 years ago, we had it only played in 2 or 3 schools in Brazil. But all of a sudden, it started to grow, and it was really for the elite, and because it was played only in schools who were run by British people, and maybe there was one team from people who came from France, but it was a very small community, and it was really played by people who had money. Although rugby doesn't require that much investment, it was really for the elite sport, an elitist sport. And it has changed a lot in the last years as well. And it is due to social programs associated with the clubs. The clubs have been investing on it, on making rugby reaching place. People would say it would never be reached. And that has made a difference. And in one of those projects, my son was invited to know a club, a local club called BH Rugby here in the city where I live, which is Belo Horizonte. It is a big city, but it has only one rugby team, which is this one I'm talking about. And they had that project to try to teach rugby to low-income children. And then my son was part of that project, and I was already too old for playing. I mean, for playing in a regular basis. And then I that's how I got into contact with rugby in 2012, and I started to attend that kids school. And then my other son, he started to play for the E team, the beach rugby youth team. He played a few matches, and then I had the idea of creating a page, and at the same time I founded my own club, which is called Trinca Ferro, which is inactive for a while, but we'll be back soon as possible. As soon as the pandemic is over, we'll restart our works.
Nice.
But that's how I got into contact. I saw that rugby in Brazil was too, I don't know how to say this word. I think it's stereotyped.
The overly rough, a little too aggressive kind of image.
Yeah, that was the image, and I think that I thought that I could try to change it, not change it, but showing people that it was that, but there was it. And the first time I took my son to that training session, I saw lots of beautiful people, beautiful women, beautiful bodies, people happy, people laughing, people getting together and going to a pub and drinking, which was the third half, which is as you know, a great tradition. Yep. And it's very, very important here in Brazil as well. I think right. it is in the whole world. But, and I saw that as a wonderful new world. and I wanted to show it, and I had a girlfriend back then, and we had the idea of creating the website, the Facebook page, and showing that for world. And we had a lot of problems in the beginning because, well, I think it's worth talking about that, but mainly because people were not ready to be exposed as the way we were doing in the beginning. We were a little. We had problems, but we were overcome. We tried to overcome them, and we managed to do it as time went by.
No, I understand. I understand this one very well. Do you feel like a lot of that issue that people were having was cultural to Brazil, or do you think it was just the fact of early stages of kind of social media at that moment?
I think it has to do with the moment related to how it was beginning to work in Brazil. Mm-hmm. Not the culture, the Brazilian cultural background. I don't think that was the problem, but the kind of problem I had, to be sincere, was that the mistake was mine, the fault was mine. And I started to post in the beginning those calendar, which are very common in the rugby world,
right?
And then I started exposing rugby from the wrong way, in the wrong way. I should have started showing it the other way. And I had problem with people who were complaining about exposure of women as objects, objectifying bodies, and in a certain way they were right. And then I started learning with the critics, and as the page developed, I started to change its direction and to show beauty in another way, without having to interfere with people's privacy. So I started to ask permission, which was something that I should have done since the beginning, and since I used to get ask and get those permissions for every post, then everything started to work out much better.
Right. I find it interesting because even here in the States, for me, I've had similar, maybe not to that extent, but similar issues of trying to figure out exactly what it is that we wanted to do with even our media site. And it was always kind of interesting. Like I've gone through a number of variations of how the website has gone. And I think a lot of people don't realize, especially in smaller rugby countries, because I consider the U.S. a smaller one as much as Brazil or, the Caribbean or anything, that when we're trying to find ways of presenting rugby without trying to be overly traditional, it's a process. And in the process, it's as much a discovery about what we are seeing in the sport itself as much as what we're trying to see in ourselves through the sport. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah.
It does.
And I understand, like, it's always been this weird dynamic with me trying to understand that. So to even hear about a page that has I would consider as a successful social media page like yours, having that those trials lets you know just how much this sport has to be able to offer, but also what it's trying to position itself as. Yeah. Did you feel?
That's the feeling. I have the same feeling.
Right. So, as you're growing this page, the basis that you took it from, obviously what you took from the community itself kind of made you aware of this. But, did you have this kind of same feeling in terms of like, yo, I want to show a sport for its internal beauty as much as what we normally see? Was that always something that had been with you your whole life, or was that something that came as a result of just your son and then rugby and everything like that? Was it just, I guess I'm asking, like, where did your philosophy base from, essentially? Because it's such a unique, like I said, it's a unique way of looking at anything, let alone rugby itself.
Well, I myself was never really very interested in outer beauty, you understand? And I have always been a person who has been involved in social, how could I say, in social. I've been someone who has been to the streets to protest against many things all of my life. And I'm a person who has been always conformist. And so our beauty would be something that would not be on my list of priorities or that would matter to me anyway. But I saw in rugby a possibility of mixing the two things, combining the two things. So although they are that kind of post I'm going to talk about right now, it's not really visual. Sometimes it didn't much attention or much from the visitors. I also insert posts related to social programs.
Right.
Despite people enjoying it or not, I try to put them, to force them into the page, because I think it's part of the rugby ideal, the rugby values, being beneficial to the community where it is inserted, where the club is inserted. So I think it's very important, and I saw mix both sides together, and that's what I've been trying to do. If I had to post only the main Brazilian teams, athletes, I wouldn't have almost no black people on it, because maybe they are 10% of the people who play rugby. But I try to post a percentage which is not the one that is the truth. I try to mix it in a way that everybody has the same share of exposure, because I think people who are out of the beauty patterns, for instance, people who are over how do I say, with the weight overweight the pattern. I think they deserve to be featured on the page as well, and they are now and then and they are very happy. They are very great, and people recognize that that's always that. Especially if the person accepts what he or she is, or how he or she looks like, and is happy about that. And it's in rugby, it's something that is acceptable. There are sports where it's forbidden, but it's not the case in rugby. At least in the unprofessional rugby.
Right. Yeah.
And so I don't know if I made myself clear. Is that you were asking me about? Right.
Oh, it was absolutely clear, and I guess it was basically just understanding specifically just where the thought process comes from, and you explained it perfectly. It is about, again, the whole expanse of what rugby has to offer in that. So being able to understand that, again, I always feel that's what your page has always come across as to me. I've never taken anything other, and so to be able to know that was intentional, as much as it does come off in presentation, is amazing to me. I always find it interesting, especially as we see these media pages go. So I know, like, when I started doing rugby media in 2013, it was a lot more quiet, right? There wasn't very much that seemed to happen here in the States. It existed, but it wasn't that much. Fast forward to now, it feels like we're starting to see more and more here in the States, more people talking, more people making their platform and standing out. For you, as the years have come, and I know USA and Brazil have had many rugby battles, including Brazil beating the US a couple times, yes. How has the culture of rugby changed since you started doing rugby media, as I would like to say it?
Well, I think there were two highlight points on that process, which were the two World Cups. From the time I've been to age, we have been through two World Cups, and when the cups are running, there seems to be a bigger attention from the general media in Brazil towards rugby, and those were the periods where the page gained more followers, because some people, other medias, they turned their attention a little bit from soccer, which is so that prevails so much in Brazil, which is kind of ridiculous. And it's kind of 90% of the time talking about soccer, and all other sports are left behind. Everybody is very pissed off, unfortunately. But there were these two highlight points where the media, the general media, turned a little attention to the sport. Another thing that has helped in the last 2 years, we have had ESPN showing broadcasting all over the world, which has helped a lot. It has made a great difference. But I don't know, the growing of the kinds of media itself has helped a lot. People can share video from WhatsApp or through Instagram, through people can during the pandemic do that train together. So many options that have been popped up all the time, which have been making the traditional media obsolete. So all of these have been helpful growing together with I don't know how to say what's the name. I think it's confederations, the state confederations, and the one who runs the whole country. They have been doing a good job as well. And those victories, even especially that against the U.S., have been made us out.
Oh,
I interviewed. I had an interview. I think it was 4 days ago with 2 twin players who played against Brazil, and they highlight that game as that match as their lives highlight.
wow. No, I remember watching it, and this was because I know one of those wins came right before the Olympics. So I remember going in and being like, wait, Brazil has a national team? I was like, okay, maybe they just created one for the Olympics. But then it was like, no, these guys are playing like they've been playing for a little bit. And then, of course, we're still like, okay, it's no problem. But then you guys beat us. And then it was like, what is happening? Wait, how did this soccer country just be? What's happening right now? But it stands to show it was the first time that I actually took a serious view at not only just rugby in Brazil, but rugby in South America in general, outside of Argentina, because everybody knows Argentina. Argentina has been really good for a long time. But the other countries kind of get, kind of put underneath. They get underestimated. And whenever Brazil beat us, I was like, okay, there's something here with them. I don't want them to beat us again, but we'll give it respect.
Yeah. The formation of the Brazilians, they are very peculiar because sometimes the same people who played the Olympic Games, the sevens, are part of the rugby union national team and are now starting to play rugby league. It sometimes are the same people, but some of them have played abroad, and so they brought that experience from outside. And just only now the real Brazilian rugby has been created. I think we can say it now. Maybe we couldn't say that 4 years ago, when some of the players could roughly speak Portuguese.
Yeah,
because they were born in Brazil, were raised outside Brazil.
oh.
But now the main youth Brazilian national team, it is almost 100% formed by people who were born and who lives in Brazil and who are living in Brazil as well. And so the Brazilian team that beat the US was a different formation from what we have now. Almost the same guys in the main national team, but as they are getting older, the new generation will come, I think, stronger, more prepared, and will be very thankful to the previous generation. But I think you have to fear Brazil a little more. Sorry to say that.
Oh no! I will give it that respect because it's not even like Brazil doesn't have the population to be able to handle it either. So to be able to see it growing internally, and then to know you have the population, especially the variation from South Brazil to Southeast Brazil to from South Brazil to Southeast Brazil to North Brazil. Like the varying ranges of people that come from each of these locations have to be a massive talent pool to be able to pull from.
Yeah, that's right. And but it's somehow still focused. The focus on the places where there is better developed still in the southern Brazil, in the south and southern Brazil, and there is just from the other parts as the north and the northeastern, but they are changing. They are trying to make it grow as well. But as you know, as you said, maybe a talent can from just two and be part of the main team of the team sometime. Who knows?
Right.
And I don't know if you are acquainted with the female Brazilian rugby. They are very good. They have been getting much better results than the male teams. They have been, I think, 10 times champion of America champions.
Yeah,
and they went very well on the Olympic Games, much better than the male team, and will be on the Tokyo Cup next year. They have their participation already guaranteed. So they have grown much despite less support. I cannot explain the reasons, but that's something that most people don't have no clue about, even in Brazil. People in Brazil usually don't believe that it's a sport for women.
No, I actually had the pleasure, and for some reason, the young ladies, I don't remember their names right now, but when they came to Atlanta Sevens back in 2014 and 2015, I had the privilege of interviewing two of them. I forgot their names. It was the captains for the women's teams. It was a captain and a lead player for the women's team, and it was. It was very interesting to me. Again, this was the stages where I didn't realize Brazil had a team, but the women's team was a lot more athletic than I had expected, just considering the level of skill that I was expecting from Brazil. But I do have a theory as to why I believe the women's teams perform so much better compared to the men's in terms of relative output. And I think it all comes down to the fact of it is the lack of support. It's almost like the women's side has, one, rugby is maybe the only real contact sport that, as a team contact sport, that women have directly. You have maybe fighting in MMA, but outside of that, it's usually a smaller variation of either American football or hockey. And I'm not even talking field hockey, ice hockey. So in field hockey, a little bit. So I think we get the best amount of talent that goes into women's high-level rugby. And I think the problem end up coming is people do underestimate it, because if you watch women's high-level rugby, it is fierce. I think during the Olympics, I actually enjoyed watching the women's rugby far more than I ever liked watching the men's, because it was like I see them trying, not just trying, but achieving and hitting hard, running fast. Like the passes were crisp and good, and it was like I don't see how you can't watch this and truly love what you're seeing on the field here. And you just see the women's sports continue to grow and grow. And you kind of find out that I don't think rugby grows unless the women get the proper attention, because I think the two work together. The men can only do so much, but there's so many options that these guys get pulled from. And the women have such a power in terms of bringing attention and their performance and basically surpassing people's expectations, that if you don't give them more chances, give them more support, you're going to end up hurting the sport for the long term overall. Like, what do you think on that?
I think you're right. I couldn't think of another explanation for that. I think that might be the reason. The other alternatives. I think that's right. And what about your girlfriend from Curitiba? Does she play rugby as well?
She doesn't play rugby. She said she knew about it. I'm low key trying to convince her to get in. So because she's pretty tall and she's got very strong legs, so she would make a solid lock with ease. So I'm working it slow and steady. I just need her to not be so afraid of taking a hit.
We meant to do that. To bring her to.
Oh, but yeah, like, say that.
I wish you good luck on that.
Thank you. It's a process. Hopefully, if all things considered, at least if and when we were to get married, then the kids will have a direct access to rugby. That'll be the first and primary sport that I like to bring them to.
Do you have the intention of moving to Brazil or just visiting?
For this first trip, it's just going to be a visit. It'll be the first time, obviously, I have been to Brazil, and so I want to be able to take it in. I think overall there is a chance that I will, particularly because of what she does. But I think this is why being in rugby media has been so important to me, because it allows us to be able to travel. So a lot of my focus still stays with the U.S., but it's not – I've come kind of past just trying to get the field and wanting to, very similar to you, get the culture, get the people, and get them in their own element. So to be able to have a piece of work where you're able to be mobile, you basically have some access of the sport in any country you want to go to, and being able to create a focus where it grows what I want to see here in the U.S., which is learning about opportunity that rugby has to offer. So people leaving out of the country, because when you travel, the U.S. is not a lot of people from the U.S. travel very well. So you want to be able to have rugby as this element to let you go see the world. And then second, it gives people in other countries a chance to show themselves more. Because as you know, like what you do, people want to see themselves. So being able to set up everything so that regardless of whether I'm in the US, whether I'm in Brazil, my family's from Nigeria. So my interest is even with Nigeria, who has a similar situation like Brazil. You want to be able to see these teams, these organizations, these unions be able to grow and self-sustain and really spread what this sport can provide from a contact level, an emotional level, a mental level, a spiritual level. It has so much to offer. So, I have the room. The room is being provided for it. So if I live in Brazil, which I expect to probably for a few years, I want to be able to work and be able to do stuff with Brazil and in association with the U.S. and Nigeria and all these places.
And I'm sure if you're coming and even for a visit or for living or for a long time or for a short time, it doesn't matter. I know that you can bring a lot of experience with you. For us who deal with the media here, I'm not saying that we don't have professionals, but any external help and sharing of ideas and experience is always great, and I'm sure you will be very helpful too. I hope we can share good moments here when you come down to Brazil.
I am 100% here for that, and even being able to take the information too, like being able to speak to media family like yourself and others. It's nice it's interesting to see how much of a shared experience that we have with our journeys in this, and how similar a lot of it is, and just how much we're able to learn and then just bring it together, because this is a wild game. I don't know if many people really understand how wild this rugby media stuff is, whether it's the sharing of content and distributing information, shaping it. It is a journey, but it is truly, I know for me, something that I've not just grown to love. It feels so permanent for me. Like being able to have that feeling of saying, man, I've gotten to show somebody their kid being able to play rugby and they never were able to see their kid play, or having a player just know that they got featured on something. Even for me, I don't even think I'm that big a deal, but they're grateful. And it's like, I want you to feel good about being able to play and feel like you're important in it. So, that's my take. And Jorge, like, you are one of those ultimate people that provide that. I hope that you are being given the proper appreciation for the work that you do, because it is beyond meaningful. And looking from the outside in, I can say that it is work that is truly valuable to the overall growth. So I want to personally, from my side, say thank you for everything that you've been doing in Brazil and across the world, because you've taken people from everywhere, not just Brazil.
Yeah, thank you very much. It's me who has to say thank you for the invitation, and I'm really happy for the feedback. I sometimes we have some troubles with because we are dealing with people, and dealing with people sometimes has its how do we say the
ups and downs.
Yeah, the ups and downs, but they are so small compared to the love that I've been getting from people who have been because the page is not. I don't say I make it. people make the page. The athletes, they send videos, they send pictures, they tag the page on their own posts, and so it's a collective work, and I really have nothing to complain about that. I just have to thank all people who for providing content, for giving advice, for even criticizing sometimes. And as I told you in the beginning of the interview, I'm still in the process of finding out if I'm doing the thing the right way, and I think I am, but we can never be always 100% certain, and
Right.
we will all in committing mistakes. But that's it. I'm very happy I'm very happy for the page, and we've been promoting a beauty contest on the page, which has been putting teams competing against each other since
Nice.
we can play due to the pandemic. And at the beginning, in the first phase, people are still believing that it's appearance, but when they go to the second phase, they will surprise. I don't know if someone will be listen to this interview, but they will have to show something which is the beauty inside,
Nice.
the inside beauty, and then just great would not be enough for them to move to the finals. And that's it. It's been a joy for me as well. My main profession is teaching. I'm a teacher.
Nice.
And our schools have been closed since March, because schools are probably going to be the last place to be reopened. And so at this meantime, I have been having more time to dedicate to the page, and it's been fun. The page has been growing. That's the only good thing about the pandemic, I could say, because people are experimenting a new kind of life, new kinds of getting in touch with other people, and,
Right.
and it all passes through media.
No, that's real. You guys are very opposite of us, because we are reopening our schools first, and it is not going well. but no, I can get that. I'm a big believer that at least one thing is true. Despite all the unfortunateness that has happened with 2020 and COVID, it has given at least time to be able to hone our craft a little bit more in this industry, bit by bit. So 2021 is going to be a big year, I believe, for a lot of us, because we got a chance to really have no choice but sit down and really look at what we do. But George, if you can you just leave the listeners with all the places that they can actually find you on social media, if you can, specifically whether known or not? Yeah.
The main focus.
Hold on, I think we lost you a little bit. I think the sound went out a little bit.
Okay. So would you like me to cite the places where people can contact the?
Yes, please.
Okay. Well, we have the Rugby N Beauty Instagram account, and the Facebook page called Rugby and Beauty. I don't think it's hard to find, and it can easily find when someone searches on the internet. But I think you could tell people, because I'm with a problem with those symbols. How do you say that?
You said it correctly.
Rugby,
underline.
Okay. Rugby underline Beauty. That's our account, and it is also the hashtag I usually ask people to use. Perfect. For us to look for recommendations, because it's hard to type, and I thought a person has 1 minute or 30 seconds to type that, it's because that person really wants to be featured, so she deserves to be featured.
Give them their due. Give it what's they're owed. Give them what they're owed. But all right, Jorge, thank you so much. And look, if you're always down, I'm always down to be able to have you come back, and we'll talk a little bit more Brazilian rugby in the future.
It will be a pleasure. Pleasure always mine.
Awesome, brother.
And thank you for the invitation, and for the nice chat. You are very, very pleasant person to talk to, and hope to meet you when you come to Brazil, and your girlfriend, and who knows, maybe we can have the chance to watch a Curitiba rugby match, which is, I think, is the region we're moving to. And it's I have good friends in Curitiba Rugby, great club in Brazil.
Yo, I'm looking forward to it. I'm absolutely looking forward to it in the real way, and we'll make it happen. Like, it might not be this time, but we're gonna make it happen. We're going to make it happen.
You do that. Thank you very much.
Yo, I hope you guys enjoyed that episode as much as I did. That was great. Jorge, thank you so much for coming through. Definitely check out his page. You will not regret it one iota. Definitely getting a chance to be able to talk on his show, and I can't wait to bring him back as we get to know more about this Brazil area, and of course continuing across the world. Guys, we got some great guests coming up soon, but in the meantime, we're probably going to take a little bit of time off for the last couple weeks, and then just kind of reset back at the beginning of October. So just give you a heads up on that. But I just want to thank you guys. Please, while we're on this 2-week break, check out some of the other episodes. Last week we had the great Kimani Davis with Roots Rugby and My Actions Defy Expectations organization. Prior to that, we had Matt Upton with Jesuit Dallas High School Rugby. Even before that, we've had great guests like James Brunson of North Philly Nomads. We had Derek Lipskin of the New York Blues and Roots Rugby. We had Naya Tapper. We've had Kyle and Tiana Granby of Roots Rugby. We have had a slew, there's some great guests, and these are evergreen listens. It doesn't matter the time. It's going to be perfect to listen. Charity Williams of Canada Women's Sevens, and check out her stuff even on social media. She has been blowing it up, and it's been an honor, and she was talking about this on the podcast, so definitely check it out. Guys, thank you so much. I hope you guys have a great one, and please remember, I hope you guys stay happy. Hope you stay healthy, and I hope you know that you are highly favored. I'll talk to you later. Cheers.